All right, so now let's try some. We need to make sure that our subjects and verbs agree. So let's remember everything that we already talked about agreement with singular subjects, singular verbs, plural subjects, plural verbs, and let's give it a go. In this example, the temperature and humidity has or have been rising for the past week. How many subjects do we have? We say the temperature and humidity. So even though they're two individual subjects, we think of them as plural. So in this case, we need to say the temperature and humidity have been rising for the past week. In our next example, the chef who started all three of these restaurants was or were trained at a school in France. Now remember, we also want to be looking for interrupting clauses or phrases. In this situation, we have the chef who started all three of these restaurants. So our subject is going to be the chef. Who started all three of these restaurants would be considered an interrupting clause, and we want to strike it out. That leaves us with either was or were, and since we have a singular subject, one chef, we're going to have a singular verb, was. In our next example, we have a much longer sentence. Dave's new invention, a set of rocket-powered rollerblades that can propel you 100 yards in just 3 seconds, are or is both pointless and unsafe. Clearly, we have a lot of stuff going on here. What we want to do is either look for prepositional phrases to get rid of, or we can also look for interrupting clauses. Do you remember when we talked about looking for a specific punctuation that might set apart an interrupting clause? In this case, we have 2 commas bracketing off all the information in the middle of the sentence. That tells us that we can strike through a set of rocket-powered rollerblades that can propel you 100 yards in just 3 seconds. We can throw that all out the window, and we are just left with Dave's new invention. If that's a singular subject, we're going to choose our singular verb is. So Dave's new invention is both pointless and unsafe. This example gets a little bit more complicated. So the veterinarian said that the problems with my dog's skin comes from a genetic condition rather than an infection. What you need to remember is that the subject of the sentence is not always the first noun in the sentence. In this situation, we do have the veterinarian said, but that is a separate subject and verb. We need to figure out what is doing the action of coming from a genetic condition instead of an infection. Hopefully we're not saying that the veterinarian comes from a genetic condition here. So instead, we need to figure out what our subject would be that's doing the action of coming. So if we take a look and try to eliminate prepositions, we can get rid of with my dog's skin. That makes our job a lot easier, and we can now see that the problems are doing the action of coming from a genetic condition. And if we have a plural subject, problems, we need to make sure our verb is plural and does not have an S on the end. Problems come from a genetic condition. And again, in this example, we'll also see a situation where the first person in the sentence is not necessarily your subject. Mayor Black's announcement of the addition of 4 new bridges to the city's redevelopment designs was or were met with mixed reactions from the public. So let's try to do what we've been doing before and look for any prepositions that we can get rid of here. There are actually lots of them. So if we start at the beginning, we can see of the addition, strike it through, get rid of it. Of 4 new bridges, let's also get rid of that. To the city's redevelopment designs, get rid of that as well. At this point, we know that Mayor Black is not being met with mixed reactions from the public. We know that it's his announcement. So the announcement is our singular subject, and we're going to choose our singular verb. The announcement was met with mixed reactions from the public.